Al pie del Ávila majestuoso, a 920 metros sobre el nivel del mar, en un valle de verde geografía que se abre de este a oeste, surge Caracas, la capital de Venezuela.
And now, our feature presentation.
You are watching a master at work.
Go get some!
How's it going, everybody? Then welcome to another episode of The Combat Club with Capitán Rafucho and Zenith, because we are back in business, baby. And right now, we have a extraordinary preview of UFC Fight Night in London, and we're going to recap the UFC 313 between Magoda Ankalabi versus Alice Pereira, as known as the Part-Time Chama. So I just wanted to make sure to subscribe to my brother Zenith and Capitán Rafucho on YouTube. Also, you can follow us on the social media, Twitter, Instagram, Rumble, TikTok, everywhere, including Twitch. So this is like the Combat Club. This is like a podcast with 100% stream attitude. So I just wanted to tell you, this is going to be like an extraordinary ride. So I just wanted to tell you, how's it going, Zenith, because we are back and we are going to provide everything about like the bot scene and the UFC weekend. So how you feel about it?
Yeah, I feel absolutely back. Absolutely excited to be back. Took a hiatus here for a bit, but we should be back on a daily basis. Weekly episodes of the Combat Club you guys should be receiving. And yeah, we have missed a couple of weeks. Exciting fights to catch up on. Starting with the main event of UFC 313, where we have Alex Poulton, Chama, as some would say, losing a decision to arguably the toughest competition he ever had, and it damn near showed.
Yeah, Magoda Ankalabi. So yeah, that's very difficult to pronounce.
Yeah, it just kind of took me back because honestly, I didn't. What's up, Daniel? Thank you so much for being here. I didn't know that.
Hello to you, Daniel.
I was surprised that he was able to do that to Alex. I was surprised that. How do you pronounce his name?
Ankalabi. So yes, Magomed Ankalabi.
Yeah, whatever. I was just, it's just sad that
you just call like a big Ank. So just like the big Ank.
Ank.
Yes, Ank.
Yeah, that's just so hard to pronounce. But anyhow, it was surprising. It was really surprising to see him do that to the champ. Obviously, I knew he was probably gonna try to implement his wrestling. I was surprised that Alex did survive all those takedowns. By the way, I believe he was about like. He stuffed like 13 out of 14 attempts at takedowns or something like that. 12 out of 12 or something like that, if I'm not mistaken. But that being said, Ankalaev totally outperformed him in the striking, which I didn't thought that was gonna happen. So part of the shock was me trying to pronounce his name, but the other shock of talking about this fight was Alex losing in the fashion that he did, man. Damn near took the fight over and took the championship away from Alex. But outside of me slaughtering that fight, it was another great night of fights. We had Justin Gaethje win. We had a big performance by Ruffy against King Green. Obviously Julian Turner couldn't get the job done. But
Yeah.
Great to see Justin Gaethje get a dub back. So that being said, right back over to you. What you thought about 313 before we get into UFC Fight Night 254, and then obviously we got the fight night that was last week as well. But what's your thoughts on 313?
Yeah, I think because right now for the main event, I mean, the big Ank is known as Magoro Anclabe. I mean, he reminds me like the first Pereira back in a fight. I mean, that was like years ago, but that was like the same issues present by the Porta because he just keep it like backing it off like the straight line, which is opening like the left straight into the Ank and every time because it's like a little bit bizarre that the guy that Alice can Bill gets some done straight punches but also that is exactly what happened. I mean, fighters like Ankalabe, which is the big Ank with a tight guard, and short Chris Watson, I mean, will always be a problem. So I don't think that he would take the big Ank serious enough because all this trip in Australia and all this stuff.
Inkalaev.
Yeah, Ankalaev. Yeah, Ankalaev.
Inkalaev. It's so fucking hard. Continue though. I'm sorry.
Yeah. But also, I mean, they should have worked in the circle away from the strong hand that the salt pot and how to counter the straight more. But in the art of the MMA, we're often surprised with the superior strikers get up down by less technical opponents. So it's that very important to remember that nobody has a complete striking game. Instead, there is like a few things that excel at, they're managed to the limit, it's changed for the strongest, and when someone has the skills and game plan, so they're denied like 8 games. So they look surprisingly limited. So we'll just like to the same with Anderson Silva. Whatever the opponents refuse to commit on the lead, deny him the opportunities to make look average. But I think I was like, wow, that's very in fact. Because they do look at the fight besides for like the crappy leg kicks. I mean, Ang was the only pushing at the pace and the more significant strikes. But I'm very surprised they didn't give like the judges another close fight. I mean, if they had very close in the pocket with a knockout shot, I mean, that could have anything at the moment.
I'm sorry. I was just trying to learn his name. Magomed
Magomed.
Ankalaev.
Yeah.
Nikolaev. But yeah, Nikolaev was definitely showing out in his strike-ins. Sorry if you got dogs in the background, but Nikolaev was
Yeah.
definitely showing up in the strike-in, and goes to show you exactly what you says. Anderson Silva was on an amazing win streak until Anderson Silva got caught, and it looks like Alex would definitely be back. It's tough to see Alex lose like that in that fashion, but at least he wasn't knocked out. At least we have a new championship, and that's what's the fun thing about MMA. You only can be on the top of the mountain for so long until someone takes your spot, and this is such a hard sport to stay on top of the mountain. And the fact that Alex did for quite a couple of years now, deservedly so. But shout out to Ankalaev and got the job done, and on to the next.
Yep. And including for like Justin Gage versus Rafael Fiesev. I mean, that was just like they throwing like something that it wasn't that very important, because that was very shocking. I mean, the Rolling Thunder kicks at the end of the round, I was just like, wow, that's very important to see how much they're gonna have to this one. So between for like the fight of Rafael Fiesev, I mean, let's just wanted to make very seriously because the first fight, I mean, there wasn't a habit of like a lot of energy right now. But I mean, we see surviving that Fiesev that Rapica was really insane because it takes like a lot of balls out there trading bombs like after this stopping broadly. I mean, if you see fighters, they look like never the same after being slept. But just in case it's built different. I mean, they fights like what Sean Strickland talks about, kill or be killed. I mean, they also took like a lot of credit to get sparked, but unfortunately, it didn't get received this memo. But there is like 18 months of knee injury and taste notice. I mean, Fiesev, I was like a very game about it, but it felt like we just learned about both fighters. But the Gage is more better in the pocket, so it has more power. While Fiesev faced it in the second half. I mean, just engaged they have one march. This is lead out of the first fight, but Fiesev just ran out of the gas much early because, of course, really short notice. And can we just talk about like the uppercuts and overhands coming up with a clean wrench as nasty as always? but they show up at a like grappling exchange where they're unique for the fight because they give like a lot of gold for this one, but they're gonna give like a Justin Gage or a Tyler Shutter this one. So they're trying to still understand because there's nothing more like the powerful or the highlight, which is Justin Gage. I mean, he became like the true game between for like the 21st century, and there is no shame at all with us gonna go like at a Justin Gage. But also the between for the last phase of Rafael Fiesta, they showed like its late technique and a race to the stocks, but they're just getting Hobart and Berry more active. But I think that my dream scenario after that we just see Justin Gage, I mean, is gonna be fighting for this title. They're gonna beat Islam but they get another battle for using for a lightweight belt. They're gonna be possible. I think it's just muted.
You're absolutely right. I love
Okay.
to see Justin Gaethje get another chance at a title. Damn near he's a fan favorite. He damn near deserves it. I know we have a big implementation at the featherweight division. This next event, couple events in Miami for the featherweight strap. Who knows what Ilya is doing? What he wants to do? I think he moved up to light heavyweight as well. I know he's after a championship title as well. I would love to see Justin Gaethje get it go. Definitely well deserved fan favorite.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, and after that, I was getting involved with like all of these fights between for like the main card, and that was like in the very interesting between for like Jalen Turner versus Ignacio Bahamontes. See,
Mm-hmm.
this is like everything about like the Latin American fighters because see how Ignacio is pretty high chance of the turns now because who's gonna be like the next one? I mean, between for Jalen Turner, who's gonna to retire, and then Ignacio Bahamontes. I mean, he became like the master of summation because I really thought because he had those sparkle because
He
they
caught him
just
in the
call
first
like the
round in that one.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that exactly. But between for like this one, because I don't think it's gonna be like a decision, but it was like really smart to him to get out of the submission because that triangle was coming for a while because those
Mm-hmm.
people that have no idea what they see that coming. I mean, trying to always lose, but they're gonna late enough that it's gonna be like rank. But that was like a great submission defense because he couldn't escape it and not person it off. But I think that they between Jalen Turner, they never lived to the hype. I mean, they're just walking away against the fans of Rayon Mocaino, or there will be like a Petrin Yan, nearly out your moment. I mean, that changed like everything. But between for the nasty elbows and the rebound, they make so much easier for Ignacio Bahamontes. But I'm guessing that like the weight cut is holding him back for this full potential. But actually, I mean, Ignacio, it could be like the real deal for Latin American fighters.
Yeah, another Brazilian fighter to mention is obviously Latin American is Mauricio Wafi.
Mhm.
I'm a big fan of his. He's coming up. He had that nice, I believe it was a spinning heel hook against King Green in his last fight out at the same court. To open the main event. He gets a win against James Lyon Top. Before that, and then Jamie McCorley before that. So he is now 3-0 in the UFC. He's on a 7-fight win streak. His only loss is a knockout against Sosa back in the day, though. And if you look at Sosa's career, he is now 11-1. So just losing in Bellator. Just recently signed with the LFA. So nothing to really write home about. But good fighters get clipped. Good fighters get clipped. And he was a young fighter back then, and he got clipped. He's slowly working his way up the ranks. He's slowly getting better. Definitely showing the skills off in the octagon. I'm not gonna say that this guy's gonna be fighting for a championship anytime soon, but he's definitely up and coming. Mauricio One Shot Ruffy definitely deserves our respect. Another fight that we can even touch on real fast, being that we don't really want to skip over it, is the Roman fight. I mean, like
Oh
my money was
yeah.
on Marvin Vittori. I thought Marvin Vittori was going to be too much for Roman. Marvin Vittori was coming off of a long hiatus, but Roman definitely took advantage of him in that fight and got the job done. And some good other fights on that card. Nothing to really write home about. But we have an exciting fight card this upcoming weekend with Leon Edwards, his first fight back from winning the championship, going against a competitive, a young up and comer, a fighter in Sean Bradley. That's really not a good matchup for Leon. But if you anything you want to talk about for that Morvan versus Woman card before we move on to the main
Yeah.
card of the hour, the Leon Edwards card.
Yeah, I think because for like the women's, I mean, they just had a like very impressive at all, but it doesn't seem like there's no very skilled fighters that I would call for like in this one. But that was like a really decent. But I mean that they got a like a fire start, the momentum cutting off there. But between for like Amanda Lemos versus Yasmin Lucindo, I mean, that was like in general, sometimes they gotta deserve to like the main card with the exception of a few. But that was like a very disappointed at all because they got a fight that was coming up for like a loss because it's gonna be like a down to the prime. Because if they had something to do about like there was actually like sucking the life out of the building, but it really had to go for it because they have it as something about for like the big trouble. I like it at this one. But you see, there's something I had to go for like in this fight they actually did go to do about it because they didn't landed a significant strike in either for the first 2 rounds. Because you know why? Because how in the actual hell is gonna be like one of the worst thing? Because I mean, if they have like a lot of potential on it, I mean, it doesn't matter how to go for it. I mean, they have a very potential at all, but it just have a significant strike in either for the first 2 rounds. But between for like Amanda Lemos, which is like very impressive at all. But I mean, they just wanted to cut it out. But to have it as something like a worse record or anything, I don't think so. Because I don't go to the main card, but they probably get the more eyes so that they convince it at all. Because if they had to add to the women's fight on the main card, they stand to practice because I know that I had to hide up in there. Because I know that it just she didn't abandon the wrestling because she thinks that he can go for the hardest hitters in the world that they could chin. But I know there's gonna be like something, not to mention that she was like fighting something about like the veteran, the rookie, but it had to go for it. It seems that there's a significant strike they need to get. I don't know, they had to review or something because they need to something working on it.
You covered it. I just wanted to talk about Ruffy. I really loved his fight against King, and I honestly think
Mhm.
he's up and coming too. But as for the ladies, shout out for the ladies. I honestly think Limos
Yep.
was the better between the two, and she showed it. Definitely a great fight card for 313. Can't really complain. Joshua Van, good victory for him on the preliminary. Very I had my money on Ray, but Joshua Van comes in again in the clutch. Going down to seeing what else. He had a nice win with Cole, round one at first 16, and then the Santos beginning to show off with that decision victory. But outside of that, going through the 313, good card top to bottom. We'll see what this weekend has in store for us. Anything you want to talk about on the Maureen Vittori versus Woman before we move on?
Yeah, because there's like a little bit between for this one, but it's happening between for like the main event of 313 because
Mm.
yeah, I really understand that it became like something very important. But I know that someone they have like a technical issues because some of those people didn't pay off like a pay-per-view or something to watching it like that because I know that I just enjoy the main event, but it seems like a lot of those persons they just have like technical issues. And I know that the UFC that's gonna have the final year of this contract on ESPN, but there is like two options to go for like the next year because if you guys remember, we did go for like the contract on Netflix or TNT and Sports and Mass, but I really understand that some of the biggest names on the streaming company they just wanted to take over like the broadcasting rights for UFC after the whole like well, a little the disaster of the UFC 313, but when it comes to like the ending minutes of the main event, which you had to experiment some collision issues and everything. So it happens. It happens a lot.
I love it.
And right now, we just wanted to tell you about like the preview of the UFC Fight Night in London. So I know that London is the home of the Red Rock soccer teams like Manchester United, Chelsea, Liverpool, and of course, I just wanted to say shout out to Against the Fence because I just woke up between like the media day of London. But you know what? Between for like the main card, which is totally amazing, and they have Leon Edwards versus Sean Brady. I mean, what can I tell her about this one? I mean, it's like a home fight for everything because sometimes I enjoy those UFC London cards because they always pay slightly more attention to like all the British fighters because they have the lowest caliber fight. There was always like very interesting about it. So first and foremost, we got something very important, which is Molly Kane versus Alexia Tinara. Now, definitely is going to be talking about it because Molly is just like a subpar grappler, but average striker. Not in terms of technology, but her style was definitely a successful one. Gritty, tough, she's cows because a lot of the MMA community doesn't like meatball, but sometimes the international treasure on the United Kingdom, but she's also the woman's mixed martial arts figure that everyone has ever known in that country because she also go for like a hand-to-hand against Patty Pimblett, was potentially like the top biggest fight draws in the UFC at the moment. But I mean that she's gonna face against Alessia Tinara in 8 days' notice here because she won her contract on Dana's White Contender Series, where she beat a 7-0 fighter that's the current live champion. I mean, in fairness to Tainara, her original record isn't that too bad. She had over win against Amanda, who became like a champion 2 years later. But she showed like a well-rounded game, showing out landed 3x3 takedowns as well, like 101 significant strikes, but all 200 the feet. But she drew like a very consistent game where her clinch was also nice because it doesn't surprise they happen to go for the jab, but also they happen to look at a little bit of power of horror. But the circumstances about the fight is not going to be very frustrated at all. With being like a short notice, there are some handicaps on right Tanara's side because I was going to be very confident that Mullen McKinn will be the favorite, but also Alex Tanara could be like the underdog. But I don't want to complain about it because for what it is worth, I mean, sometimes it's gonna be like a great investment because everybody knows that they got the pitching on it, but also the lack of the tape against the position makes her really hard to know if she's good on the debut. Even she got up in the matchup against one-dimensional fighter that refuses to gauge in what dimension has to go for it.
Yeah, definitely Molly's going to be the favorite. It's going to be at home. She's definitely going to have home court advantage or a home court advantage, would I say at this point. But she's definitely going to go against a killer that definitely been on the low. I have to be honest, I really didn't watch that much of Alexa Fighters. She did get that big win against Wosa on the Contender Series, as Rafael mentioned. I just think that it could just be her not getting big headed and not really getting too psyched out. This is the UFC. You trained for this moment and you deserve to be here. If she does that, I think she can get a victory in a decision against someone like Molly. But if the spotlight's too big for her, Molly's gonna walk right through her. This is gonna be her first fight in a big show, and it's against Molly. And I think everything in her training has led her up to this moment. Molly's not one of the best fighters in the world. She can easily, I wouldn't say easily, but this is a winnable fight for Alexa. So I'm gonna pick Alexa. I'm gonna pick the newcomer here. I do think Molly's gonna have definitely the adrenaline rush on her side, and I think sometimes that can cause her to get too pushy and then make the mistake. And with someone like Alexa, I don't think that's someone you want to really necessarily make the mistake against. Molly McCain is it says here on Tapology, she's number 27 worldwide. but Alexa is the number one woman in Brazil, but she's unranked because it's her first fight in the UFC. So let's see get a winning streak going. You know, it's different when you go and beat a woman in the UFL or you beat someone in the
Mhm.
LFA. You get alone the UFC. So I'm gonna go with the newcomer here. I'm gonna go with Alexa. What's your thoughts of the next fight? We got Kevin Holland versus Gunnar Nelson.
Definitely, because I know that it's not like at a London car with a token appearance with the Icelander grappler, Gunnar Nelson. I mean, it's very trifling that the Ultimate Fighting Championship are very okay with Gunnar being so inactive. And even there's more surprisingly, they never want to see him to test him too much. Because if you think that they give it like a so reductant to fight as well, it's because they might to teach him a lesson and give him some challenges. But this is
Mhm.
like the third fight in a row that Nelson has given a fighter with a very strong narrative regarding the wrestling, grappling, submission defenses. Because why are they make that investing on the record? They easily submit Kevin Holland to get a fed to Mike Mallet or a Brian Battle. Because I'm getting very confident that Kevin Holland, because they're always the lead to the participants or very active in the gym themselves, but it's like a more like a kind of fight which you ended up with winning with whatever success he has. Because between for the first fight, Gordon Nelson has a very striker. In both terms of technology and firepower, that's much obviously. And then it's like in that Holland does him winning a lot of minutes we're trying to or not. But obviously the key is around sort of takedowns or decides to get Holland to get over the ground. But maybe it's not that well, very obvious to get it important because I know they have it a mission. They certainly have it no historical issues with his chin nor strikingly defense. I would like to see Barry look at it like Nelson here because a win for Holland is not necessarily going to look at it very easy because there's always a risk. Always a right because they have it very enthusiastic about his career, but I really hope they might be not passionate about improving his grappling defense, but also all the Americans stay under the fighting shape, given how active it is. I mean, Nelson is now 36 and has competed 3 times in 6 years. I don't be thinking of foolish to play enough of it exactly that to solve for it. But I think there's gonna every 6 months of the fights, then there will suffer like reduced fight.
Yeah, I think Holland has basically been fighting top level competition for a while now, and you have Gunner that hasn't been fighting anybody for the last 3 years. I'm not saying he hasn't been on anybody, but exactly what you said. I mean, like who has
Mhm.
Gunner fought in the last 6 years? He fought Brian, he fought Sato, and he fought Gilbert Burns. And at the end of the day, those names are not going to do it for me. Um, that being said, though, if you really look at Kevin Holland, I think this is an easy matchup for him in a sense of this is almost like a retirement fight for Gunnar Nelson in a sense. He had to go fight a tough Wadier that's making his UFC debut. He had to go and he had to fight a tough Roman. He fought a tough Michael Venom Page, Jack Della Maria. So all these losses he has against actual fighters, it's actually going to push the pace against him and try to take his head off. When you have someone like Gunnar Nelson, his best ability is to probably take you down and submit you. But I don't think he's going to be able to take Kevin Holland down because of the experience in the cage that Kevin Holland had over the last 6 years that Gunnar Nelson has been missing. I say inside the distance, Kevin Holland by knockout.
Yeah, I mean exactly. Also, next one we got Jan Blachowicz versus Carlos Ulver. So I really understand it about like the hype on Carlos Ulver, but I think that for me, he's just like a great striker. They absolutely deserves to be here. He's within the division. But this is the UFC. This is like the MMA where you can only survive for so long without everything well around the scale. It's because I have no evidence that suggests that Ulber is like it in many areas, but I've been seeing like it around, like seeing that it taking it down for once for a maximum of 15 seconds. Because between for like the light heavyweight division is very liking and well around the fighters. They just wanted to pure kickboxer and sit on the throne and claim most of the weight class of the best names. Also, the so Ankalabe, John Bakovic come close to beating Alex Pereira at 205 pounds because he actually has a brain attempt to put together to beat him, to go for a game plan. because he had the felt half minutes to the control against Pereira and very close to split division. Because I can't even have it the same, but the game plan is gonna be like John Beshara here. But he get it like very outgunned with the speed and youthfulness, the department at the stand-up. But they give it like at a weight class at the UFC, there's always like a sort of a fight IQ, then they will not hold to the bread. So what's gonna be like an outside? Because unfortunately, there's like a big red flag waving alongside of the backlash name because it's very not to secure any potential value. Because I know that Jen is 42 and was very old, regardless of the weight class to fight it. But also they had to put it a constant. I mean, there's like a strong concern because I think it's very fair to expect it to look like it a little bit regressive to come in this fight because their body is getting beat through surgery, rusty, but also that they cannot retire. But I know it's going to be very impossible. Like how Jan Michaelovich cannot be qualified beforehand. I mean, there's gonna be like a get boxer, but there's gonna be like holding off for like a everything of 50 seconds. So there's gonna be really expected. There's gonna be like a really layups. So we train for like the grappling, striking, and of course, at getting like to the area. I think it's gonna be really determined between for like Gian Blachowicz, which is gonna happen against Carlos Solberg.
Well put. I mean, like I don't understand this matchup. I get it. Like the ex-champion is 42 years old, but it's still John. Like John, Bali's not gonna go in there and not gonna have not a tough fight. Like it just seems weird that they're gonna feed Carlos to him this fast. Like I get it, he's off of a loss, but that loss is what my co-host just said. It is against Alex Pereira, and he did go to the distance in that loss. This is a guy that literally hasn't really been knocked down in the last 6 years, and his last time getting knocked out was against Thiago, and we all know Thiago his punch is different. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, John is battle tested, Bali's battle tested, and Carlos, even if he has the ability to strike with him, I can see Bali taking him down and laying on top of him, kind of like what he did against Izzy. I don't think that Carlos is as good as Izzy was striking. I don't think that Carlos is as good as Pereira was striking Jan. And that being said, Jan is just absolutely the better fighter in this sense. You can't tell me you get an up and comer in Carlos and he's gonna go and walk down an ex-champion. I just don't see that just yet in his career. Now, if Carlos does that, that's why I'm not a matchmaker, and this matchmaking is right. But I just don't see that. It's a big step up in competition when you're going from Alonzo Menifield and Volkan to Jan Blachowicz. I mean, like, let's just be real. This is Bali's fight to win. Bali's fight for taking. If Bali doesn't win this fight, people will say it's because of his old age, and that's probably what I'm gonna say as well. But that's probably why they're thinking that Carlos Ulberg can go ahead and beat him because of that 42. So if it wasn't for that 42, if Jan was 38, this wouldn't even be a question, and this still is not a question. So give me Bali all day, every day, 24/7, 365.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. All right, so the next one is going to be so much important, which is like the main event, which is Leon Edwards versus Sean Brady. Because I know that Leon Edwards is out of the title picture for multiple reasons. I know that sometimes that a lot of persons think that it was boring and a marketable guide, but this is like the MMA in the United Kingdom because it's like an inconvenient market that's not worth it to see how much of the UFC because there's like few fighters like Michael Bisping, Leon Edwards, and of course there's Tom Aspinall because even though that they could have sell for the belt that he was overshadowed by Aspinall and even Pimblet because I know that his headshot that angle and the knockout of Usman was worth something, but 99% of the time was failed to deliver in any gifts that they gave it to him. But when it comes to the fight, you know that the career is already peak. They already know that it's come to with how to get motivate themselves to get like a hunger up coming off of a new way. Because this is like a pretty much a good matchup because a fight round against would have given like an instruction to get a strike at a competitive because I look it's gonna make it a sense. But Brady is just like a seriously hot prospect that is way up into the rankings. But he was a face of Bilal Muhammad. we obviously since there's no really shame in losing on Bilal. I mean, but still Federer is very concerned about like getting knocked out by Bilal, but he has only 5 TKO knockout finishes. The other 4 came like at the 25s ago. I mean, then seems like the more sort of cardio issue, which is the combine that Brady's slow and against Chiesa. They just feel like they're narrative. But the rest of the couple fights, I mean, Brady has just shown this narrative down because he just went really hard against Gastelum, landing 5 takedowns and managing 9 minutes in control 10. That's really insane before I let it out for the submission. So can Leon Edwards shut it down, the takedowns? I don't think, because in the same way that Brady Fugazi everyone that has potential cardio issues and everyone that are thinking he had good takedown defense. Through the last 3 fights, they had the silver of the division historically best wrestlers. Usman and Colby, where Leon didn't get involved in the match we haven't seen previously because a little more footage, we all know that they're going to wash it up because if they got to go to debut, basically in the 6 fights, but to take it down for like 3 or more minutes because there's those fights there is not like they get it straight. The back of it, they get this wrestlers about like 30 seconds in control per down because I'm just going to give it a run because he only landed 1 knockout in the last 7 fights, which 2 hours and 35 minutes of total fight. But I think Brady is going to be a better grappler than Malone. So I could replicate the success that the current champion has because Brady is a more dangerous grappler. So they can finish it in the middle or play on the reverse. But I don't think that Leon Edwards gonna fear finishing problems and defeat that much. Because for me, Brady's clear the path to the loss isn't that very dangerous so there can be any other fights.
I 100% agree with you. I think Muhammad exposed Edwards. I think Edwards had gained our respect with his 8-fight win streak, and now when we look back at his 8 fights, right before he got that the Diaz fight, the no contest against Muhammad the first time, he's on this amazing 8-fight win streak. Right after losing to Kimura, he goes on this 8-fight win streak, and now when we look back at the 8 fights, it's like, dude, these are not high level competition. Then he goes and he gets that win against Nate Diaz, another non-high level competition. But Nate Diaz almost puts him out at the end of that fight, right? Kamaru Usman has dominated him in the rematch. Then he gets that head kick, headshot dead. Then he goes in there, and you can really tell that Usman didn't really show up in the second fight, so he lollygags his way to a victory. He almost loses in the decision against Kobe. He wasn't fully dominated about Kobe, and then gets exposed against Muhammad. I think this is a guy that, the middleweight division was so stagnant at such a long time that it's almost like now we're getting to see the up and comers that truly is better fighters. And when you look at that, you have someone like Sean Brady, who, yes, he did get knocked out, but he got knocked out against the championship. When we look back at that, do you think that anybody would go back and match them up? I don't think Sean Brady was ready for Muhammad, and it clearly showed. But this is a totally different Sean Brady. Leon Edwards does bad when people pressure him. He does good when he can get his timing down and he can be the one controlling the fight. But when Sean Brady, he's not going to be the controlling the fight because I think the pressure is going to be too much for Edwards, and Sean Brady is going to walk him down and either is going to knock him out or walk him down, outstrike him, and get him in the level to get him to the ground and submit him. I don't think Edwards is leaving this octagon without being submitted or out being knocked out. I think Edwards got exposed in this last fight. I don't think he's a top 5 level fighter at the welterweight division. I don't know why I said middleweight division. I apologize for that. And I just think that he will soon he'll still hover around the top 10, but I just think that the time has passed Edwards, and I don't see him rising, and he's the number 2 ranked welterweight in the world right now. But who's around him? I can see, a Shakarot, Ian Gary, there's the champion. There's Sean Brady that he's about to get matched up at. There's some killers coming up in Michael Morales. That's 17-0. So it's all like, and not even trying to take anything away from Buckley, anything away from Golf Neal. But if Jeff Neal, sorry. If you really think about it, I mean, like, with Derry out there, with Shakawan out there, with fucking Morales out there. Like, good luck to anybody, including the fucking champion. And that being said, we'll see what happens with that. But give me Sean Brady all the way every day. I just think Elon Edwards is gonna take a L in this one, man. Sean Brady is gonna be the better fighter.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with that because
Mhm.
I really understand that they just wanted to try to stop Edwards for giving like at the top for the footing against Gasman at a short notice, but they don't want to battle him. But between for like Sean Brady, I mean, he has more ability to get a more comfort on his grappling, his strangling. But between for like his record, I mean, there's not like an injury because I know that honestly, because I know it's very short, stockly, but he was building like everything, like a jiu-jitsu
Let-
black belt.
Not to interrupt you. Let me ask you this. Okay, so
Yes.
say Edwards lose this fight, right?
Hmm.
Okay, Ian Gary's coming off. Gary. Like I didn't look at who these guys are fighting next. I'm just playing hypothetical here. Gary's coming off of a loss against Shakawa, right? A decision loss. Edwards this fight Gary. Who are you taking in that fight?
Hmm. I think that
I,
I'm gonna go for the like
I'm
it
taking
against
Gary.
Mike. Yeah.
I'm
Oh
taking
yeah.
Gary. Okay,
Yeah.
exactly. So
Gary.
that's
Yes.
another. Then it's almost like Michael Morales is on this absolutely tear where he's literally 17-0, fucking literally ass whooping the fuck out of his way to the top. It's like he has Gilbert Burns up next at UFC 315. Muhammad versus Jack Della Manuel. But that being said,
Mm,
Michael versus Elon right now. Michael versus Edwards right now. Who you taking? I'm taking Michael. So it's almost like Edwards. Like you do something to wise because at this point there's a lot of up and comers. Like I didn't even mention Shako yet, and Shako
yeah.
damn near knock or submit Edwards out. But that being said, like if Edwards gets past Sean Brady, maybe he has a future. But outside of that, I don't see him in the top five anytime soon.
Yeah.
There's a
I
lot.
understand.
I just think the sport has passed him up. I just think
Yeah.
he's getting exposed, and I hate talking like that because he was such a prolific fighter. But we even have Jack Della Manuel on a what a fucking what is he on? What is Jack on? I didn't even notice that. Jack's on a
Jack de la
17 fight win
Madalena.
streak.
Uh,
Yeah,
yeah. Jack de la Madalena.
that's why he gets. But continue.
Yeah, but I think that I'm very confident that whatever it takes, like to beat it out, because I feel like Ian Gary is more hungry than anybody else that is fighter with a better fight IQ. Well, they have the fighters that are great at fighting in the range and cutting punching. I feel like Ian Gary has a very speed advantage along being younger. But in terms of, I mean, I'm very confident that has to take it a lot because it looked very beatable in many of the fights. Got clogged hard against Jordan Son. They couldn't finish it. So really comes back me, but he was at engaged for the kneel. But even between for like the fight, it seems like he doesn't have very enough to squeak out of the divisions, and he took it. I mean, it's not going to be like a boring point strike in the match that very favors, because I know that he's very specialist and stealing close with flash, with extremely hard to hit on.
And I absolutely agree. You got Ian Gary out there, you got Shako out there, you got Morales out there, you got Jack Dellamenia out there, you got the
Yep.
champion out there, and you got Sean Brady right there. I just named six champions. I just named six contenders and one champion. So Edwards, go out there and win this fight because if not, your ass is gonna get bounced from the top five real quick. And
Yep.
I'm sorry, I'm not even mentioning Bucky because Bucky's in the top five as is. So that's just my opinion. And I even mentioned go from Jeff because Jeff's on his way up as well. So we'll see what happens with the welterweight division. It's just at this point, Edwards is going to be a damn gatekeeper.
Yeah, I know that's gonna be there to keep it. And I just wanted to tell one last thing. I mean, there should be like sometimes it's not better because I had to show up for the game and not like the bright lights to the face with the bad way cut. I mean, he's getting like not that very comfortable at the press conference. But the biggest factor to think about like that Ian Gary is actually looking to become a champion of this weight. way young and hungry, because I'm not very sure that he's looking for the title, because he's still got to go for the intro to wanting to lose, because they're going to be predictable and unpredictable at the same time. If the contest with leg kicks, and maybe going to stick it around for like ground for like a little bit. But I mean, they're definitely good, because he might is gonna be like something else, because he's young, time to improve a lot. But it seems that they're very impressive, because I know he's very comfortable taking the fight for the distance, and I think that someone can end the fight anytime. He might be at the crack, but he still got the cracking like the coach. And I just wanted to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, it's been a pleasure to get him back in the business, because I know there's gonna be like a little hiatus, but right now we're getting back into the action. So this is like the episode number 38. Yeah, it's been like a 38 of the Combat Club, because we're just talking about like the great cab of the UFC 313 between Big Hang versus Alice Pereira, and of course the UFC Fight London, which is gonna be so much interesting. And of course, it's gotta be like at a time which is like I'd go at the 4 p.m. Eastern time, because I know that London is gonna be like charted up. So I just wanted to tell you, salute to everybody else in the chat. Salute to Julio, Mitch, Yonder, Jay Raider in the building, and also Daniel Berry, and also salute to one of my biggest brothers, Adrian Reyna, the Fats and Brodson. So I just wanted to tell you, salute to everybody else. So this is like the episode number 38 of the Combat Club, along with Capitán Rafucho and Zenith. And make sure to subscribe to both channels.
You guys have a good night.
Yes, have a good night. And I just wanted to tell you, have a great night, have a great Thursday. And of course, let's get it. And we're out of here.